everybody. My dad thinks his podcast is amazing, so please subscribe, give it 5 stars or whatever, and maybe he'll finally stop talking about it. Anyways, welcome to Sobriety.
Welcome back to the show. I'm Ryan. This is Jessica. We are Sober as Fuck. And before we get to today's guest, we just want to remind everybody, please make sure that you are liking, subscribing, reviewing, sharing the podcast on the platforms. We're on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube.
Correct.
Yep.
I think you hit all the buttons. Also, check out our website, our-noon.com. All of the podcast episodes are on there. We have some discounted Pride merch on there right now through July 15th. Tons of resources, blogs, and it's still growing. There's still things in the works.
Yes.
Before we get started, very quick trigger warning. We do talk about substance abuse, addiction, mental health, self-harm, grief, all of the things. And if you start feeling triggered or any which way, please prioritize your mental space and feel free to jump off. But assuming that you stick around and like what you hear, we have a very, very, very special guest today. I thought we say that every time because every guest is special, but today is very special. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yes. So today is someone I've been following for quite a while. I thought I was busy in the sober community until I started following her. She is an incredible powerhouse in the sober community. She's in our favorite city. She's from New York City. If you don't follow her on Instagram, you should. Her handle is Sober in Central Park. She's also part of a group that's opening up an NA bar soon in Brooklyn, we'll talk about that.
Sober bar.
A sober bar, yes. As long as find out about her story. So let's please welcome Sober in Central Park, Miss Rachel Hechtman.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Thanks so much.
How's it going?
Appreciate it. So glad to finally meet you.
So nice to meet you guys. I love this, and I love the opening. I feel so special.
Well, as I follow you, I saw you. I think it was like last week or something. You were on the news up there too, as we were down here in Tennessee as well. I thought that was
just Monday, so that was like this week. It feels like weeks ago, but that was Monday morning. It was wild. It was live too.
Yeah, and I was hoping to get maybe a visit from my main man George, who I think needs his own Instagram page, by the way. Dog.
What kind of dog do you have? I haven't seen the dog.
George, he's a rescue. He came over from Egypt actually. But I've had him for like 6.5 years, and he looks like a big Havanese. He's my baby.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we can go ahead and get started. I mean, you're about, 4.5 years sober now, which is awesome, by the way.
Thank you.
So what was your story that kind of changed your relationship with alcohol back then?
Well, I mean, the one story, I mean, it was a long progression, honestly, to get to where I am today. It definitely didn't happen overnight, and it didn't happen because of one instance. Like, I didn't have a rock bottom moment. I knew for like years before I stopped drinking that I was going to have to not drink at one point in my life in the future. For a very long time, I just equated having fun and with alcohol and partying and numbing. And I couldn't see a life that didn't have any of those things in it. I feel like a lot of us in active addiction can't see that right during it. But I really credit COVID to me being sober. I don't know if I'd be sober without COVID. I had 2020, like before COVID, my life was kind of spiraling out of control in terms of I was unhappy all the time. I didn't like my job. I didn't like the relationship I was in. I just felt like everything I did was hurting me. Sorry, just hurt. Yeah, so I was like honestly praying for a pause in life. My sister was getting married. She was supposed to get married in June 2020, and I like hated the way I looked. I couldn't imagine like being the maid of honor, like the way that I saw myself. So I really was praying that like I could have like some kind of pause in life to kind of like get my shit together. And then COVID happened, and I was like, oh my gosh, did I manifest COVID? Like, did I bring this into my life? But it created like the perfect, circumstances for me to really like see that everything I blamed for my issues, like my job and, my apartment, everything were not the issues. And it was really me. Like I was my own worst enemy and I was the problem. And it was my drinking because I thought that if I had, all the time to just binge watch TV, binge drink, binge eat, lost my job. I was getting unemployment. If that's what I wanted. And once I got all those things, I was like, wait, I'm still unhappy. And I don't know how to like get out of this. So I was drinking by myself one day in the lake. I was at my mom's lake house during the first few months of COVID. And I was like drinking by myself with my dog on my lap. And a man went running by the house. And I remember thinking like, oh, what a loser running on such a nice day. And this voice came into my head and the voice was like, he's not the loser, you're the loser. I was like, wait, I'm the loser? Why am I the loser? And I remember the voice said, well, this person's bettering themselves today and you're sitting here by yourself drinking. And I was like, oh my gosh, how do I become more like this man who sees a nice day and wants to go on a run versus go drink by themselves? And the voice was like, well, this person's not drinking whiskey till they pass out on the couch every night. And so that's kind of where I had this like out of body experience. Like I can see myself still in the lake and I was like, it's a visceral reaction. So that was like June 2020. And it took me like the next 6 months to really get up the courage to even try to not stop drinking. I tried to go 2 days and then 3 days to see if I was going to have withdrawals. And when I got back to New York City and, tried to set a routine again, it was January 2021, and my mom had gotten me the book Quit Like a Woman for Hanukkah. And she's like, Chrissy Teigen was holding it on Instagram. It's cool. And I was like, all right, sure. And so she was like, okay, will you do dry January with me? And I was like, no. And so I drank on New Year's and I drank on the 1st and I had a horrible, horrible hangover. And I remember waking up on the 3rd and I was like, I can't do this anymore. And like, as cliche as it is, like, I was like, I'm sick and tired of feeling sick and tired all the time. And so I was like, you know what? All right, I'll try to do dry January. In my all or nothing personality, I was like, well, I want to lose a lot of weight. My sister's wedding is now postponed to October 2021. I was like, what if I try to do Weight Watchers the same day I stopped drinking? And because in my head, I was like, I'm not going to drink all the points that I used to drink when I tried to do it in the past. So I was like, all right, I'm going to stop drinking. I'm going to do Weight Watchers. We're going to change everything at the same time, which I don't necessarily recommend people doing, but that's just what worked for me. And I tried to go 30 days. That was it. That was my only goal. And I made it the 30 days. I will say, because of COVID and not having parties and dinners and gatherings, and I was still unemployed. I mean, I got a job in February, but that created like the perfect, I don't know, like circumstances for me to actually get sober and not really have any outside support, which I also wouldn't recommend people do. So at the end of the 30 days, I was like, okay, well, I don't want to drink now. Like, I feel amazing. My anxiety that had ruled my life for the last forever is like, had never been lower. I was losing weight. I was feeling good. My mental health was like amazing. And so I was like, let's just see how long I can go. And haven't had a drink since. So.
Later.
Yeah.
It is a common like thread that we see. And I mean, we interview people who are sober, right? So we're not interviewing people who got worse during COVID, but it seems like a very like polarizing time because your drinking actually got worse in COVID. Yeah. But everybody we have on the podcast talks about that. And you're right, because it like made it worse at first because you're sitting at home and you're drinking. But in isolation, you have a whole lot of time to self reflect and to sit in your thoughts. And we're seeing a lot more people who don't necessarily have a rock bottom moment. I think that sort of like ethereal experience is really common too, because that's how it was when I stopped drinking as well. But over the course of your sobriety, you've done a lot of really amazing things. And people always say it, but like, when you quit drinking, when you elevate yourself, when you work on yourself, doors start opening. So I know a lot has happened, but like kind of give us like a an overview of where you went from like drunk on the lake to now you're opening a sober bar. You were on the news in New York on Monday. Like that's really inspirational. That's amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's wild to think about. And I think that version of me who is drinking on the lake, like, wouldn't believe me or anybody if someone had told her that this is what my life would be like. Even a year after that, or 2 years after that incident or that time period, like, I still wouldn't have believed it, right? That my life would look so, so different. But I guess, I realized as I was in a relationship that I knew like wasn't right, but I was kind of stuck in it because I still am kind of impulsive, but when I was drinking, I was way more impulsive. I'm ADHD, and drinking is so horrible for everybody, but especially people with ADHD. It just it exacerbates all the symptoms. So I got married on a whim to somebody that I didn't know that well. And we went to City Hall and did it behind everybody's back. And so I was kind of like trapped in this relationship that I didn't want to be in. And when I got sober, it was like 4 months into my journey, and I was like, you got to move out, like this is over. And I was really scared to do that because had been a really codependent person for a long time, and had never lived on my own, and I was like I was scared to do things by myself for a very long time, and it kind of held me back from living life. Not kind of, it did hold me back from living life. Like I didn't want to explore places. I didn't want to step out of my comfort zone. I wanted to stay in a very narrow world that I had created. So I got rid of my ex. I'm living alone. I'm on this like world of self-discovery and trying to push myself out of my comfort zone every way I can. And I had a few friends at the time that were heavy drinkers because, I think especially at the end of addiction, like we surround ourselves, with people that make us feel better about our own habits. And so I had to, kind of say goodbye to those friends, just because we quite literally weren't on the same wavelength anymore. So I found myself like alone, like totally alone, and like needing community. And I also needed a way to hold myself accountable because I didn't find myself in the rooms. I wasn't in a 12-step program. Because of COVID, there were no in-person meetings, and I didn't really think I was getting sober. So it just like the circumstance just kind of led me to being on this whole journey by myself. So I turned to Instagram. I turned to social media to kind of find that community and to also like hold myself publicly accountable. But there wasn't a sober Instagram world like there is now. Like now there's so many accounts of people sharing their journey, recovering out loud. But when I started my account back in September 2021, there were a handful of people maybe doing what I was doing and like some meme accounts and some podcasts, but like very, very small like sober social media space. And I think it was way more stigmatized even just 4.5 years ago. I just remember going out to restaurants and not ordering alcohol and having the waiter or waitress like completely ignore the table for the rest of the night because we weren't ordering booze, and people making comments and being like, oh, like you're no fun, and just saying the typical things, and me being like, oh wow, like hey, I used to think these things about people who were sober, but now I'm on the other side of it and this is crazy. And I needed to find people that understood me. So I made Sober in Central Park, which people always ask like how I got that name. And it was quite literal. Like I when I got sober, I just didn't know what to do with myself. And so I would walk to Central Park with my dog, and I didn't know my way around the park at all. I like didn't want to get lost. I had only really drank in the park. Like I did not know Central Park, and it's huge. So my dog, George, he's like an explorer. He loves to like walk a million miles a day, and he would pull me further and further into the park and like make me explore Central Park like path by path by path until we got to a point where we were like doing almost like the whole park below 96th Street when he was off leash running around. We'd walk like 6 miles every day. And it was just my way of like starting my day every day. So when I was making this Instagram account, I was like, okay, well, I'm quite literally sober in Central Park. And so let's call it that. But I didn't know if I was going to share my face. I didn't know how much of myself I was going to put into the account. I just kind of was like, I need a space. And so like the first two posts are just pictures of Central Park and George. Like I think he's like peeing in one of the pictures. But then by the third picture, in my typical all or nothing fashion, I posted a side-by-side picture of myself and my transformation that I had in the past like 9 months. And it was scary. Like it was really scary to post that. You know, I didn't know what I was doing, but something in me was like, you need to be sharing your journey. This is what you're supposed to be doing. And I was trying to listen to that voice. So I posted it. And, every time I posted about my transformation or, I was scared but it got more comfortable every time. And the account started growing and people started asking me for advice to help them on their journey. And I just couldn't believe the response that I was getting from just sharing my own story. And it was helpful for me. It was helpful for other people. I made friends. I found a community, and I was like, okay, I'll get certified as a coach. I didn't even know what a coach was, but I had hired my own coach, and I took a year-long certification program. And then I discovered the world of non-alcoholic beverages. And, I remember the first brand that I ever drank was Three Spirit. I had gotten an ad on Instagram, and I was like, I got to try this. So I ordered it, I drank it, and I messaged them. And I was like, I love your products. Like, it's so good. And they were like, well, do you want us to send you a code? I was like, me? A code? Like, I had watched influencers forever, and I was like, I don't even think I had 1,000 followers. And I was like, sure. And I just remember being like, wow, like they want to give me a code. And so then it just exploded. I started, working with tons of non-alcoholic beverage companies, trying lots of different products. New companies were coming out every day, and I started getting more and more packages. And I was like, wow, like this industry, it really was exploding before my eyes. So yeah, I just kind of ran with it. I really do believe it was just crazy aligned timing in terms of my own sober journey, and then the rise of this sober movement and people just kind of reevaluating their relationship with alcohol. Sometimes people ask me, they're like, wow, your timing, like, did you do this intentionally? Like, no, I did not do this intentionally. It was very, very much just happenstance. But yeah, so, and then people started asking me to come on podcasts, and I don't even know it. Here we are. But yeah, I quit my job 2.5 years ago, to kind of try to pursue this full time. And that was scary. There's just been a lot of moments that have been just huge leaps and jumps out of the comfort zone. But yeah, and then I met Carl Radke like 2.5 years ago at an event. And, I introduced him to a woman who owns a non-alcoholic dive bar in the East Village. And she messaged me a few months later and was like, they're going to come film Summer House here. You have to come. So I was like, okay. So I went, and it was a scene where he turns to his now ex-fiance and he says he wants to open a sober bar. And she shuts him down. She's like, no, like, we're not doing that. But I just happened to be like sitting down the bar out of the frame. And so then they break up, and it's like a whole thing, and it plays out on TV. And I end up messaging him months later being like, are you okay? like I'm watching TV, watching, you know, all of this stuff happen to you. Like I'm just checking in. And we end up talking again. And he's like, I'm going to open that bar. I was like, can I help you? And he's like, yeah. So I had already been doing events for people to, you know, come together and make friends and kind of meet like-minded individuals on this journey. Cause I realized no one was really doing that in New York City. And so I teamed up with Carl and a few other people, and we started working on Soft Bar. And now it's opening in like a month and a half, hopefully. And it's just been like a really, really cool experience.
That's awesome. That is such a cool story. That is so amazing. So, I mean, there's a lot to unpack there. Do you ever feel like you wake up in the morning and you're like, is this my life? Did I just dream all that? Because I'm sure it feels like it's been forever, but it also feels like it's been like a moment.
Yeah, I mean, I do sometimes I feel that way with certain things. But no, it does feel like it's been a very long time now, especially when you have your own business, like you work all the time. And it's great. Like I'm so grateful for it because I do have so much flexibility, but you're always thinking about your business and your clients and what you're doing. So every single thing in my life is different than it was 4.5 years ago. It's the only thing that's the same is George, my dog. Like every single thing else is different. Where I live, what I do, who I hang out with, my relationships, how I look. I mean, everything. How I feel, most importantly. So it almost feels like that old version of me like died and a new version of me was created. And like that first year of sobriety was almost like this liminal transformation time where I was kind of rediscovering myself and kind of figuring out like, what does this new version of me look like, feel like, you know? So it's been a very amazing journey. But yeah, no, I do wake up in the morning sometimes and I'm like, how did I get here? But I do believe a lot of it's manifestation and you know, intentional thinking and mindset work. Like that's the only thing I can, you know, attribute it to.
And creating a sober society in New York is not a small feat. Like I know that like you're saying it like, oh yeah, I just did this and then I did this and then I walked in here and I met this. But you know, larger cities, especially New York, thrive financially on bars. I mean, like Sex and the City used to be one of my favorite shows, and I still love that show, but it is all about the cosmos and the bars and cocktail hour and all of that. So was that like really intimidating? Like, how was it navigating some of that?
No, it's so funny. People always ask me that, and my thought is I don't know how I'd be sober in the suburbs. Like the city there's so much to do here, and there's so many kinds of people, and there's so many communities. It's like when you're used to just drinking in the city, you have such a narrow world because you're just going from bar to bar, usually the same bars with the same people. And when you stop drinking, you just stop going to those places pretty much, and you experience a whole new city because there's so much to do. There's so many events and parks and museums and just like other things that like when you're drinking, you just are like, why would I go do that? Because alcohol is not really involved. So like I can't imagine having this journey anywhere else. You know, there were times like I used to live in Brooklyn in my 20s and in Williamsburg, and that was like a really dark time in my life. There were like 6 years there. And I'm really close with a brand called Curious Elixirs, and they have a clubhouse in Williamsburg. And I remember the first time I went to that clubhouse, it was like my 2-year sober anniversary. And I got off the subway, and that was my old subway stop. And I hadn't been there since I had gotten sober. And I walked off the subway stop, and I had like this weird flashback moment of like all the times I got off the subway super drunk and walked back home from there, and just kind of had this weird out of body experience. Like that's not my life anymore. And it's going to feel weird to go back to the spaces where I did have a lot of really drunk memories, but we're going to make new memories. And I think for the first 10 or 15 times I went to that clubhouse, I felt that way. And I would remember, the drunk moments there. But now, like, I don't think about that. I have so many sober moments there. So I think like it just takes time, to feel like a new person in some of these spaces you used to drink.
That makes sense, actually. Like, I was literally shifting my thought process as you were saying that, and thinking about some things that you said in your sobriety. Like, we said before, we love going to New York. Not even just like Manhattan. Like, we have friends who live up there, and I grew up in performing arts, so like obviously I go up there and I just want to like theater hop, right? Like, I just want to watch all the shows. But he had said something similar. We sort of took these vacations to places that we had been before, but we always were drinking. And he brought that same thing up, actually. Like, I'm having so much more fun this time because I'm not just chasing my next drink. I'm not sitting here doing these like mental gymnastics about like, where are we going to go to dinner? Oh, well, what do they have on draft? Or what does their wine list look like? Or, oh my gosh, what's happy hour? So I have to order like 5 beers or glasses of house wine or whatever. And you're really able to like slow down and enjoy things. And even moments where he'd say, oh my gosh, this is so cool. And I'm like, yeah, we've done this before. He's like, no, we haven't. I'm like, but we have. He's like, but it's new to me. And even though maybe subconsciously you remember certain things, you are experiencing it in a completely different headspace. So yeah, like as you were talking about that, I'm like, you know what, that actually really does make sense, and I think that we've experienced that too.
Yeah, because like you were saying, I had my own like watering holes, basically that I frequented all the time, and I avoided them for probably the first year and a half of my sobriety. And it was funny. I remember pulling up, and it's this pizza shop that's not far from my house, but I avoided it. And I was going back there to, take the kids, go to lunch or whatever. And I knew I walked in, I was a different person. I looked like a different person. I'm 60 pounds lighter. I'm healthy now. And I thought, God, is anybody even going to recognize me going in this place? But I had those thoughts that came back thinking, God, I remember sitting on the corner of that bar so many times.
And always having a beer ready.
Always having a beer ready. As soon as I walked in, it was just, it was weird, doing that. And then as you were saying, going to New York and going to shows and stuff like that, I missed so much because I was always waiting in line for a damn drink, which is terrible. Or even enjoying Central Park, like you said. All these things are kind of new to me now. Being fresh in sobriety, I just feel like an infant redoing all this stuff again. It's been an incredible ride so far.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun to rediscover yourself in sobriety. You're like, oh my gosh, do I actually like that? Or like finding things. Did you find things you're like, ooh, like I hate it here? Like this.
Like, I just came here to drink and the food's shit. That's, you know what I mean? That's great. I'm sure you've had those experiences at a few places.
Yeah. I mean, I think I love the saying that's like, if you needed to drink at doing something to have fun, like then it's not actually fun, and that's like super true. I mean, my first few months of sobriety though, like, the first month I didn't go anywhere. I like really just stayed home and like didn't talk to anybody. And then New York City started slowly opening up, bit by bit, and the bars are obviously the first thing to open. And I remember going with my heavy drinking friends to the bars and sitting there while they drank and having Diet Cokes because there were no non-alcoholic beverages anywhere, and just kind of being like, wow, I'm just sitting here in a dark bar watching other people drink. This is so boring. Why am I doing this? But I didn't know like what else to do. And so I felt like I was in this like weird position where I'm like, I wasn't ready to like let go of that life yet, but I knew that wasn't serving me anymore. And I didn't want to do it anymore. It was boring. I was like, wait, we really are just going to sit in the same places with the same people in these dark bars, like drinking? Like, I'm good. I don't want to do this.
Yeah, and that brings us to the sober bars. And I've seen them like popping up here and there. And we've talked about it a lot too, because I think once we were like, once he was about a year in, you miss not necessarily bar, but like going to like a brewery, you know what I mean? Like more of a communal space with like live music or events happening and having like drink flights and stuff like that. Not necessarily with the intention of like getting drunk, but more of like a community space. And that camaraderie, that sort of social atmosphere, you feel like you miss out on when you quit drinking. And I love seeing all of these sober bars popping up. And I also really see more and more, even here in Tennessee, restaurants offering more non-alcoholic beers. One of my favorite things to do is when we go out to dinner is really try and see what the bartenders can make. Seeing if they have any of like the 0 proof liquors, things like that, because it opens up an entire world. Where was it that we saw? Oh, the baseball game here, like the Smokies. He went to one of them and he's like, oh my gosh, they have an entire like athletic station here with non-alcoholic beers. And even just, I feel like even 6 months ago, we were not seeing those anywhere. So when he told me, you know, we're going to have this guest, Rachel, and I checked everything out, and he's like, yes, you can be open to sober bar. I was like, I know exactly where I'm going the next time we go to. What? So we will totally be reaching out to you, and I'll be like, hey, we're in town. Can we hang? And that's so cool. Are you guys doing like a grand opening? I mean, and I know like some of it you may or may not want to talk about. I don't know what you're allowed to talk about, but like, what do you have planned for the opening for people to know about?
Yeah. So I will say, like, you know, there has been a big shift, even in just the last year. Like New York City, definitely drinks started popping up on menus, I would say like 2 or 2.5 years ago. And I was helping with some menus at different places, getting different drinks on menus and helping restaurants kind of build out 0 proof menus and kind of showing them that like a non-alc drink is not just like juice and seltzer. Like you actually have to make it more complex. But yeah, it's been really, really cool to see that change and people adopting it, and people who drink deciding that they just don't want to drink one night and having non-alc drinks. So, you know, we're actually not calling it's not a sober bar. It's a non-alcoholic bar and cafe. Like we want to appeal to everybody, not just sober people. Like we want anybody to be able to come in and just have a really fun time. That's also, it's a very upscale, sophisticated experience. You know, this is not a dive bar. This is like a very classy, cool, fun experience. With drinks that are super sophisticated and really complex. You know, our beverage director comes from like a 4-star Michelin restaurant, a 5-star. Like, I mean, it's really a whole thing. So, yeah. So our opening is hopefully happening in August. I say hopefully because it's under construction, active construction zone right now, and New York City construction, you just like never know what's going to happen. But yes, we are planning we're going to have a ton of opening events. I really can't share more than that, but we'll have many launch events happening. And if you follow along on my page, I'll talk about them. You can follow Soft Bar as well. But yeah, it's going to be really special and really awesome, and just like a place for people to come and congregate, make new friends, come to events that are going to be educational, but also fun and interesting, and just enjoy beverages that taste really good. And you'll almost forget like about the alcohol part. Like that's our goal. We want people to just be able to enjoy themselves and not even think about alcohol. So yeah, I'm super excited for it.
Love that. And you said something that is so true. You know, when you're asking for NA drinks, it's like, please don't just make me like a virgin strawberry daiquiri, you know, or like something that I would like give to a 7-year-old that's full of sugar and just shit, you know? So I love that concept. That is amazing. Is it something that people will be able to rent out for even like events in the future and things like that? Like even an event space? That's really awesome. And I love that upscale feeling too, because it's making it more inclusive, because there is still this stigma with, you know, NA bars and NA drinks. I even find that when we travel and I ask, they're like, I mean, I can give you some club soda and lime. I'm like, that's okay. I'll just the water's fine.
Yeah.
And it feels very dumbed down. So I love that you're offering more of an elevated experience because just like I said before, people want a space where they can go and still have that experience, whether it be community, whether it be upscale dining, whatever it is, without it feeling like you're getting, it's like a play date with the juice box. And I know that that's a huge leap, but it sounds like you obviously had that experience too when you're like searching for these NA options and it's like, oh, well, here's some like orange juice and sparkling water. And you're like, okay, that's stupid. I don't want that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when I look at restaurant menus and they have like their mocktail menu and I see that it's literally just like juice and concentrate and like some sparkling water, I'm like, this is not non-alcohol. I don't even like the word mocktail. I used to say mocktail and I used to be fine with it. And I actually now I like despise it. It makes it seem like a kid drink. And these aren't, I don't want to have a kid drink and I don't want to have anything full of sugar. Before I got sober, I did not look at the labels. I didn't care what I was putting in my body. But now I read the labels on everything. Some of these beverages don't have good ingredients in them. And some people might not care, but I care. And I don't want to have a can that has 25 grams of sugar. Like, I just don't want that. So that's something that's important to me. And like when I work with brands or, I do events, I'm really cognizant of what drinks I'm serving and what, is in them.
Yeah, I think that's great. We play around with different drinks even here at home, just like buying fresh ingredients. Like a non-alcoholic mojito is one of my favorites because you can make it so clean and so yummy and so good, and you can make it at home. You can order it out. But even that seems to be really hard to find without just a ton of like syrup and stuff in it. So I love this. And all of that to say, there's already a space for people who want more of a mocktail situation. Like, I feel like you've always been able to go to a restaurant and order some sort of like sugary mocktail, right? Like, there's a space for that. But I don't know that I've heard of anywhere that has more of like an elevated, thoughtful, crafted, non-alcoholic drink menu. You're right. We need there needs to be a better term for that. Because even when you say non-alcoholic, the focus is still the alcohol. Like, you're still flagging like non-alcoholic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why I like elixirs. Elixirs are really great because they're different and they're not trying to be alcohol. They're trying to be a whole new thing, and they have adaptogens in them. And so I really am drawn to drinks that are functional beverages. That's going to be most of the drinks at Soft Bar. We want to feel something. That's why people drink, because we want to feel something. And there are drinks out there that you can have that do make you feel something that are still good for the body. So whether that's, having rhodiola or damiana or valerian root or whatever it is, it's from the earth. It's something that is, you're not going to feel like messed up, but you might feel a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more social, a little bit like, happier. And it's all from ingredients that are from the earth and, doing something positive for you.
Mm-hmm. That's a tricky space too, because I see all these like infused beverages and they market themselves as very healthy. And just for anybody listening or watching, like you're right. You have to be really, really careful, because if it's something that you're taking that's more of like a supplement, or even that, you have to be careful, but something that is natural, that's going to naturally elevate your mood, that's one thing. But you have these companies and that will say like infused beverages, anything that is like fucking and with your mind and altering your state of like mind in an artificial way is probably not going to be the best option. I just really love this. Like I'll have to message you once you open and really I'll be checking in and seeing how it's going. And I'm serious, like, I don't know if we'll be taking reservations, but we try to make it to New York a few times a year, and that sounds like a fantastic date night for us.
That's right.
So,
yeah, no, but I will say though, with the mind altering things. I think everyone has a different journey. And, some people can have beverages that are highly, highly functional beverages, whether that's kava or THC, and be fine. And like, I know people that had serious alcohol problems and they want to have a THC beverage and they have one and they feel great and they go to bed and they wake up feeling great. So so I do think that has been a huge rise in these THC drinks. And for some people, that's not going to work. But I think for a big group of other people, it's actually a really amazing alternative. And, I don't know. I just think it's cool to see like the range of functional beverages out there.
That too. I guess what I was trying to say is more like, you have to be careful about people who are claiming to have like natural, because even THC, right? Like there's so many different derivatives and you have to be careful about where that's sourced from as well. I'm a huge proponent of THC. Actually, I used it for years and years and years and years. I gave it up when I got sober, mainly just because I found that it was sort of making my anxiety worse. But yeah, I am a huge proponent. I probably should have clarified that in the beginning. I'm sorry. That was misleading.
It's like the NA beers is kind of the same way. They work for a lot. They really work for me.
But for some people, they don't.
But for some people, they don't, and it's very triggering. So there's always a good part. There can also be a bad. Just it really depends on the individual, and like you said, really depends on their path or their journey, however you want to put it.
Totally.
Which is so great to see that journey being so individualistic. We talked about this a lot on previous episodes too, where, it used to be that it was, you're not sober if you take prescription medications. You're not sober if you smoke weed, you this, that, or another. And admittedly, like at first, like a while back, I kind of thought that same thing, but that is absolutely not the case. And that's something that we really preach on here too, is like everything else, everything is on a spectrum, right? And the ultimate goal of sobriety is to be healthy, hopefully, and to reconnect with yourself and not feel like you are suppressing something. My brother has been sober for over 5 years, and he was in active addiction for 20 years. And when Ryan was going through the worst of his, he would tell me, he's like, Jess, drinking is a symptom of the problem. The addiction, the use, however you identify, is a symptom of the problem. It's not the problem itself. Now, it's just like a festering wound, right? Like you have to treat the symptoms and then figure out what the cause was. But it's a deeper rooted issue. And I've seen, there's all this microdosing and everything, which I think is fantastic. And, Brian's mom has Parkinson's, and something that we had talked to her about was microdosing and THC. And those are medicinal uses, right? I just see a lot of companies who are really being shady with the way that they're labeling things. So it's nice to see that you are creating an experience for people that is transparent, it is elevated, it is thoughtful, it is clean, and it is with intention. I think that is the biggest thing too, is what are the intentions behind what you're doing. And you're selling health. And I think that's amazing.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think it's all about your intention. And, if you're going in trying to numb your feelings or not, and that's something I remind myself all the time. We're not trying to numb. We're trying to be present.
We're not trying to escape. And I think that's really important too. So will the bar be, or we're not going to set down a sober bar. I'm so sorry.
No, don't be sorry.
Well,
it's okay.
I like to break these stigmas, and here I am saying it, but is the NA bar going to be in Brooklyn? Is it in Manhattan? Tell us a little bit about location.
Yeah, it's in Brooklyn. It's in Greenpoint. It's actually right on the border of Williamsburg and Greenpoint. And it's a really cool location. It's like very hip, the street is just like every day, like something new is coming in to that area. It's like a really awesome place to be. There's some really cool restaurants. There's just cool spots. So yeah, it's a really awesome space. I just am so excited for it to be done. I mean, we had to do a full build out. It wasn't anything before this. I mean, it was literally like a workshop
wow.
for a design firm. So there was no infrastructure. It was a warehouse. So we had to build out literally everything. And it's been really cool to like see that come to life.
That's so cool. All right. Well, I'm gonna get you. I got a couple questions for you, and then we'll get you out of here. First, what does the future look like for Rachel? So obviously, you got the NA bar coming up, but do you have any other future plans? Anything cool coming up?
People ask me that, and I'm like, I really don't even know how to answer this question. I am trying to work on a book. That's something that I've been wanting to do for a long time. I haven't made that much progress on it though recently. But I think that's like what I'm trying to do. And I'm trying to do more public speaking. That's something I used to be really scared of and really shy away from, but I've been working on it and trying to practice. So I kind of see myself maybe having more public speaking opportunities and trying to get my story out there in other ways. But I really think soft bar is a big step for us, and I am really excited to see that grow. I mean, this is just our flagship location. We have big plans for soft bar, and hopefully I'll be involved in that for a long time.
That's so cool. And you get to hang out with George, right?
Well, I'm always with George. George is here.
I was going to say, I have not heard the dog. Normally with dogs, you at least like see or hear. He's very quiet.
Well, we made it to Central Park this morning. It's been so hot in New York City. We just are getting out of a heat wave. I mean, it was so hot that like we could only go outside for like 2 minutes. I had to get him a cooling vest with ice packs in it. I mean, it was a whole thing. So the heat has broken, and we went to Central Park today. We actually walked 5 miles. So he is sleeping to my left. But if someone were to walk by in my hallway, George would bark.
All right. So the last question I'm going to ask you, we ask all of our guests that come on, and we want you to think back to before sobriety,
Your
drinking days, and just give us a funny story, whether it be about you, it could be your friends,
falling, peeing,
something just goofy and funny as hell. I'd love to hear it.
I know there's some.
One story. I don't know if I have one specific story, but I would always fall asleep everywhere. I mean, it was sometimes it was funny, sometimes it was like dangerous, but my friends coined it the racial pass out. So I would just like pass out anywhere and everywhere, and then they would take pictures. And so I just I was always falling asleep places. I don't know if that's like funny, but that was like my thing.
Where you fell asleep.
Where was the best place you ever?
Oh well, actually, you know what? Here's a story. A friend of mine who's actually flying in tomorrow. My birthday's on Monday, so one of my best friends, who was a best friend of mine back in the drinking days, we were drinking a lot at this bar in Williamsburg. It's like a restaurant that he had been working at. And I went to meet him at the restaurant, and we were just like pounding drinks at the bar. And these guys came in, and they were like very, very good looking Italian soccer players. And they were like, I don't know how we ended up talking to them, but they were like, do you want to come to a show with us, a rave with us? And we ended up somehow getting to go with this entire Italian football team and their manager to this huge rave, a VIP experience in these like big black cars. And I blacked out in the car on the way there. And so I have pictures of me. We were like backstage, this thing called City Fox, and there were like really huge performers there. And I like blacked into like being on the stage and like with all the lights and like thousands of people, but I have no recollection of the night at all, and just like pictures that my friend has sent me, and I don't even know how I made it through that night, but I was like pissed because I was like, these were hot Italian soccer players and I was blacked out. Like, but
meet our friend. She's asleep in the car.
In the VIP table that we had behind the stage. I do remember that. I remember like being behind the stage at the table and like pouring a drink, and my friend just like being on stage, and it was like a big deal, but I don't remember it. So
for them. They're like, oh, I'm so sorry. This is a boring night for you. That's hilarious. Rachel, this has been fantastic. Is there anything else that you want to mention? We're definitely going to share all of your stuff. We'll be keeping an eye out for the NA bar opening, and we'll blast that out, all of the things. Anything else you want to leave anybody with?
No, I mean, just if you're questioning your relationship with alcohol, or you're trying to decide like if you have a problem, this might sound a little harsh, but if you question it, you do have a problem with alcohol. People who don't have problems with alcohol don't question it. They don't Google it. They don't think about it because it's not a problem. So you don't have to have a rock bottom moment. You don't have to lose everything. You don't have to, have your life fall apart for you to realize that alcohol isn't serving you anymore, and you want to kind of get it out of your life. So find community, find people that can support you, and take that first step.
That's awesome. I love that.
Community,
Perfect.
never question the decision.
That's right.
Two huge things.
Well, Rachel, thank you so much for being on the show. This was so much fun, and we will keep in touch. We can't wait to
thank
see
you so
what
much for
else is happening.
Can't wait to
Thank
see
you so much for having me. Bye.
If you love the podcast, which I know you do, please like, subscribe,
and hit that notification bell to get
Boom.
notified every time we post.
That's right. Dropping them, baby. Word.